About the Balls podcast
with Mark Davis, Krista Meinhardt, Luke Rule, Jake Winnikine, Alan Tomasella, and Nick the Doc Skirkle. That is right. It is another episode of All About the Balls podcast. It is Monday, June 3rd, 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm Mark Davis. That's Alan Tomasella, Krista Meinhardt, and Nick the Doc Skirkowitz will be joining us very, very shortly. A couple things popped up on their end, but it's another week. It's another episode of our weekly NFL division breakdown. We've already done the AFC East. We've already done the NFC East. Some pretty good competition there. We feel like that's going to come out of those two divisions. But tonight, arguably the best division in the NFL, and that is the AFC North. That is the Steelers, the Bengals, the Browns, and the reigning AFC North champion Baltimore Ravens. And Alan, I'm a little upset that Luke couldn't make it tonight because the Ravens are his team. I felt with him in here, a lot of fireworks would have been going off between the Ravens talk and the Bengals talk. But, and how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm good, man. I'm a little disappointed too. I was definitely going to take some shots at him. You can see on my board in the background, I think Ravens might be going first to last there in the division. It's a tough schedule for them. It's a tough it's a good schedules for the rest of the teams. I don't know, man. It's looking a little rough. But other than that, man, I'm doing pretty good. I T-minus 17 days, bro. T-minus 17 days. So I'm getting ready for all of this pack out.
You're 17 days out, and, we're less than 100 days away, by the way. I think we're in the 90s somewhere. I know Boston Connor from the Pat McAfee show, he keeps it updated every week. I didn't watch today's show thoroughly, so I didn't get to catch that number. But, yeah, we're less than 100 days from the NFL season. You're less than 2.5 weeks away from out the door, man. And, hopefully you're going to be safe out there. And I'm doing well. It's like I said, it's another episode here, man. This is a division here that it is going to be talked about probably all year. Like Jake just commented, Ravens are trash. I don't know, Alan. I know we're going to talk about them last. I don't know if they go first to last because I think Pittsburgh is going to be last place. But I think the Ravens could get third place now. I mean, it's an interesting situation because you lose Matt McDonald. He's going to the Seahawks. That's the defense coordinator. So what does the defense do? They lost some pieces. Patrick Queen, J.D. Von Clowney. The offense did get Derrick Henry. So, I mean, Mark Andrews should be back. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this Ravens, man.
Yeah, it's kind of tough looking at their schedule, looking at the other teams in this division. I mean, Steelers are going to fight for that too. But we do know one thing, and that is Mike Tomlin is always going to get 9 wins, man. He's always going to be above 500. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Steelers do. I've heard some rumors out there that the Steelers are going to use Justin Fields in a Taysom Hill type role. I don't think that's actually what's really truly going to happen, but I do see him in some maybe like not Cordero Patterson. Oh man, what was that quarterback for the Steelers way back when?
Well, I know Terrell Pryor went from his Cleveland though, but he went from quarterback to receiver. I'm trying to think what quarterback you're talking about, honestly.
Yeah, it was the older quarterback back when Steve McNair was playing. It was on the Titans, man. It was way back.
Cordell
Stewart, that was the one. Yeah.
There you go, Jake. Yeah, beat you to it, Jake. Beat you to it.
On some Cordell Stewart packages, that's what has been coming out of Steelers camp, and Justin Fields has really been coming out and just saying he's going to do whatever he has to do to get playing time. He's the ultimate team player. Even in Chicago, those guys loved him. But we do know that he has his limitations when it comes to reading defenses. So you get him out there on some good packages, see what he can do to that offense, and don't forget, that defense was injured, a lot of last year. TJ Watt missed a couple of games, and that defense
still dogs too, man.
They're still dogs. So Steelers are always going to be in games just because of the Mike Tomlin, era, because of the defense, because of what they put themselves through, and the Ravens, if they get a major injury, hopefully not to Lamar, but if they get a major injury, it could spell disaster because this schedule is brutal for the Ravens.
The Ravens, one thing that I liked what they did, and like I said, I know we're going to talk about it. We're just trying to kill some time before Doc and Chris get in here. I like the Ravens draft class. And now, if I looked at their depth chart, they have a lot of guys that are Jake, and if you want to, Jake, if you want to hop on me, I don't give a shit. Hop on. I mean, if we have to have run 5 tonight, who cares? But honestly, like what the Ravens did, I think their draft class was very impressive. But let's just dive into it. I mean, like I said, the other guys are going to come in. They'll come in when they come in. We're going to start. Surprisingly, honestly, if you would have told me last year we'd start with the Cincinnati Bengals first, I would have been shocked. We're starting with the team that went 7-10, and last year was kind of plagued by injuries. Joe Burrow only played 10 games out of 17. He got hurt. T. Higgins was off and on with injuries, and when he was there, he just seemed like he wasn't himself. But now Joe Mixon's gone. You bring in Zach Moss. The question is T. Higgins going to play this year with them? Is he going to be traded? What's going to happen before the season starts? Jamar Chase is probably going to get paid after. Justin Jefferson just got paid $35 million a year, so now Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb, they're going to be getting their pay of the day soon. But Alan, what is the storylines for the 2024 Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, I think it's a bounce back here. I think they're in prime situation right now to they've got the 6th ranked strength of schedule. Obviously strength of schedule is all based off of last year. You can't really put too much into it. However, you look at the teams that they're going to be going up against, and a lot of the games, especially early on, that there are games that are definitely winnable for a team that has championship aspirations. We talk about the Bengals last year; they went 7-10 with major injuries, with Joe Burrow hobbled, and then he couldn't even throw. People say Joe Burrow's overrated, but Joe Burrow changes cultures, man. That man, he's a winner when he's on the field. So. I do think that, T. Higgins is a big piece for this Bengals team because they don't have depth at the wide receiver position right now. But I also think that this defense is a very good defense that people really slept on a little bit. And that's why they won so many games with as many injuries as they had last year.
Well, the defense did take a step. It took a step back last year. Maybe that was because the offense wasn't putting them in good situations. They did sign Geno Smith, the Ravens safety, who was strong last year, and they brought Von Bell back, and we know what Von Bell was back in the Bengals. Now, can he re-find himself? That'd be a good piece right there for him.
And don't sleep, for you fantasy gurus out there. Do not sleep on Zach Moss. We know that they love to run the running back. They like to do catching out of the backfield. Zach Moss is going to get a lot of playing time, and Zach Moss played very damn well last year for the Colts, and I think that's going to be a really good piece for them. I just look at this schedule. I look at this team, and I think that they're going to get off to a hot start. I think we were talking, before the show started, and you said you got them winning, close to, 6 games out of the first 7. I think that that's very doable. You're looking at Patriots, Commanders, Panthers, Giants, all in their first 6 games. And you've got the Chiefs in there. That's an away game. That's at Kansas City. That might be a little tough.
But playing this early in the season, we shouldn't be expecting any kind of major injuries. Obviously, anything can happen week 1, but them playing week 2, that is, what they call it, Burrowhead. I get it. The last time they played with Burrow, he lost an AFC Championship game, but Burrow does have a good track record against the Kansas City Chiefs.
He does, and
it's better defense though too. But
it is, but we know that the Chiefs start off slow too, and there's a lot of uncertainty happening right now with the Chiefs on their offensive side. They've got pass catchers with off the field problems. We don't know exactly how this team is going to bounce back. We know they're hungry. We know they want this. And a crazy stat we talked about. I know we're not talking about the AFC West right now, but a crazy stat we talked about earlier today is over the last 2 years, the 2 years that the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, back-to-back champions, they're -14 in turnover differential. So that could really play a big role in this game, because I think that this Bengals defense is one of those opportunistic defenses. They're not going to come out and get great stops, but they can be a very opportunistic defense.
And I think another thing, though, back on the offensive side, is this offensive line is a question mark. It usually is. The offensive line has been shit pretty much since Joe Burrow's been in. But, they did bring in Alex Capa from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Trent Brown as well. So, they did draft Mims from Georgia. I think he's going to kind of sit. He's going to try and learn behind Trent Brown, I'm sorry, and because Trent Brown's on a 1-year deal. If the line lets Joe Burrow get beat up, that's a situation too. If this line can just give Joe Burrow some time, just any time in the pocket, let him do his thing, this team can succeed on the offensive end. I think Jermaine Burton, 3rd-round pick out of Alabama, I liked him coming out of college. I thought he was one of the one bright spots on the offense for last year for the Crimson Tide. He's there. I think he can learn behind Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. If T. Higgins is gone, then plug him in. I think he's solid, but I think him being maybe wide receiver 3, maybe wide receiver 4. Trent Irwin's there too. Trent Irwin's a sneaky out of the slot. I just think this offense is going to be one of the better offenses in the league if T. Higgins remains on the team because you have 2 solid receivers next to each other.
I think you said earlier, that the JJ signing today was, a bad sign for T. Higgins. I actually think it's the opposite because I think that T. Higgins has to go out and prove it this year. And I don't think that there's any spot anywhere that is better for him to come out and prove it than with this Cincinnati Bengals team. So I think he's going to come out. Every report and everything that he said so far is that he intends to play for the Bengals. He didn't show up for OTAs. He didn't show up for, he hasn't shown up yet. However, he still said that he's going to come out and he's going to play for the Bengals this year. So he's got to come out. He's got to play. He's got to stay healthy and he's got to play damn well. And I think this is one of those bounce back years where he can really leverage that into getting a really good deal during the offseason next year.
I don't think it's a bad deal for T. Higgins. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's a bad deal for the Bengals because they can't bring T. Higgins back. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not that T. Higgins is going to get a bad deal. T. Higgins is getting paid next year or this year. If he's traded to a team, obviously, as soon as a team trades for him, they're going to extend him. They're not just going to trade for him. But the fact that Jalen Waddle got over $28 million a year and he's wide receiver 2 in Miami, I get he could be a wide receiver 1 on almost every single team. I get it. T. Higgins on most teams can be wide receiver 1. His only year without Jamar Chase, he almost 1,000 yards, and that was another injury-plagued year by Joe Burrow. I'm not saying he's an electric number 1, but he can be a 1. Now I think New England can maybe go get him. I don't know if you want him. There's just teams that need a receiver that T. Higgins can fit that situation. But if I'm T. Higgins, go all in this year with the Bengals. Play. I mean, I get you want to get paid, but play under the tag this year. Go all in with the Bengals 1 year. Try and get that ring, and then focus on 2025 elsewhere. I just think this Bengals, like you said, Alan, it's not a tough schedule. I have them starting 6-0. I honestly do. I think that their first loss is going to come at the Cleveland Browns, and that's because Joe Burrow. I mean, he struggles against Cleveland in Cincinnati. Doesn't matter if he's playing them in the state of Ohio, he struggles. But the Chiefs do play the Ravens and the Steelers or the Bengals back-to-back weeks open the season, so. I feel like they're going to split that. They're going to go 1-1. Don't surprise me if the Mahomes goes 2-0 and starts to that. But the Bengals have a very fair schedule, like you said, and it's just not. I'm not worried about them this year. If healthy, I think the Bengals go from last to first. I think that's the only team in the NFL this year that will go last to first. That is the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think the Bears can do it, but I have the Bengals doing it.
We know that in this era of parity that. That happens every year. Every single year, there's a team that goes from last to first. And I think that it's really set up, at least this schedule is set up, this team, the way that it's built, I think that they can do it. They're set up to be able to go, worst to first in this division. And, it all hinges on health, obviously, but that's for every team in the NFL. And, they've got really good breaks here. And when you look at their schedule, it's kind of easy game. Then it's kind of tough. Then it's an easy game, tough game, easy game, tough game. And then after that, they've got after the Browns, they've got the Eagles. Then they've got the Raiders. We don't know what the Raiders are going to be. But then they play again on a short week at the Ravens. So that's going to be tough coming out of 10 weeks. After that, they're the late season for them. They've got to play the Steelers twice. We don't know what the Steelers are going to be, but this schedule really is set up for them to at least get on a roll early. If they can come out of week 10 being 7-3, that's going to be a really good spot for them going into week 11 in there against the Chargers and then the bye week. They're really going to have a chance to kind of put away this division, because I do see, when I look at the rest of these teams in this division, all 4 I'm sorry, the other three teams in this division are ranked in the bottom 4 of strength of schedule. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they have to play in the toughest division. Not only that,
Yeah.
the Ravens have, as the first, in the division last year, are having to go up against a lot of these division winners from last year, and those teams didn't get worse. I mean, it's going to be a pretty brutal schedule for the Ravens.
And the Bengals, they're fortunate that they get the 4th place teams from the year before. I mean, and that's the key thing. I mean, they are getting now. They're going to get teams that were bad last year. Now, are those teams going to get better as well? I mean, we'll find out in the season in a few months. But on paper, yes, I don't like looking at strength of schedule because that to me is skewed. I like looking at I look at the team who they're playing. I see what did that team do in the offseason. Like the Bears last year, they were last place in the division. I don't think they're last place in the division this year for the NFC North. So things like that will change. The Bengals should get better. We'll see what teams like that. We'll see what the Commanders do. All these bad teams. And Alan, I like put coaches on the hot seat. Zach Taylor, I know he made the Super Bowl a couple seasons ago, but that's another name. I know they extended him. I'm not sure how many years he's got left on his deal, but Zach Taylor's not maybe this year necessarily because I don't know the length of his contract, but that's a coach too. He might want to start winning games now and start getting deeper again. If he starts staying just barely making the playoffs, whatnot, like he needs to get far again because not many fans believe in Zach Taylor as they have a new offensive coordinator, but Zach Taylor's a play caller, so it's all on him as that coordinator.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say about that is that we know with Zach Taylor that when Joe Burrow is healthy, they're a really good team. And they've proven that. I don't think he's had a bad year with Joe Burrow being completely healthy.
No,
Joe Burrow has injury concerns. That is something that he was plagued with during college, and then now in the NFL, he's had his ups and downs when it came to injuries. So
Burrow didn't really have any injuries in college. I mean, he only played the 2 seasons at LSU. As Ohio State, he was a backup. I mean, he was kind of just bad. It wasn't bad. He was, yeah. I mean, but NFL, rookie year, the Commanders field took his fucking leg out like they do with everybody, and then last year he had the wrist injury. I mean, I just think this team honestly is one of the better teams I think in the NFL if healthy. And
yeah, I agree.
I don't know about you, Doc. I know you're just joining us, but the Bengals, man, me and Alan, I think we're pretty set that they are going to go from last to first place in this division.
The Bengals?
Yes, if healthy. And Teagan's is there too. If Teagan's is there, that's what I'm banking on.
Yeah, I mean, I have it as a toss-up really between the Bengals and the Browns as far as who's going to win the division, but I do see that the Bengals are going to have a bounce-back year, and they're going to be fighting for that first in the division.
It's just their schedule, Doc. It's very, very, very nice on paper.
It's going to be in that division. I mean, all those teams are powerhouses, in my opinion, that can compete at every level. I personally think the Steelers are still going to be the last place team. I think this is going to be their year where they go into 500. But
no, we meant like they're going from last to first. Like they're going to be first place.
Last to first. Yeah. This team absolutely can do that. Yeah. The Bills are shit in the bed. The Ravens, there's so many question marks in the air with the Ravens. Derrick Henry's there now. I mean, they already had running backs, and with Lamar Jackson, I mean, you're taking a lot away from him for Lamar Jackson on the scramble and the option run. This team can absolutely be a dominant force in this division and go from last to first, like without even trying.
Yeah, and one of the things that I said is that we know that it happens every single year, and you look at the landscape of the rest of the NFL, and I just don't know if there's a team when we look at these schedules right now, and you see the teams that were last, and the Bengals are playing the teams that were last in those divisions. You look at them, and you're just like, all right, I don't see the Patriots making that turnaround. I don't see the Commanders making that turnaround. No. I don't see the Panthers making that turnaround. So when we look at teams that are going to go, last to first, I think the Bengals really have to be on that higher upper echelon of teams that can actually do it, because they won 7 games last year. Were the last team in the division, but they were competitive in those, with that record, even still being having 7 wins.
And shout out to you, Tijon. I've just stay tuned because Ravens are the last team we're going to talk about. I'm probably going to get them in like 30 minutes or so. But
I said Bills. I meant Browns earlier because the Browns.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah.
So over under is 10.5. I mean, sorry, Doc, to cut you up. But 10.5 the over under I had for the Cincinnati game. This one I actually went with the Vegas odds there. I have over. I think this is a 13-win ball team. And I'm telling you right now, I can see 14. Like I told you Alan before the show, I only had them losing to Pittsburgh because maybe Pittsburgh they fucking spoiled maybe a potential 1 seed for them or whatever. But I could see 14. I easily have over 10.5. I think this is a solid, at the worst, 12 wins if healthy.
Yeah, 10.5 is that line, and I definitely think that they can get over that line too.
Somebody is seeing something with this team that the rest of us aren't, because 10.5 is a low over under. I mean, if you're not taking the over in 10.5, I mean, you're crazy. I mean, you look at even last season with an injured Joe Burrow still go 9-8. I mean, that's impressive. You know what I mean? Joe Burrow got hurt early.
Yeah, they were 9-8. I'm sorry. Yeah, never mind. Yeah, every team had a winning record last year. Holy shit! I thought they were 7-10. I'm sorry. I think they had 7 wins with. Yeah, yeah, 9-8. 9-8 with no Joe.
Thank you, Doc.
9-8. 9-8.
Thank you, Doc, for showing up and giving us the right stats.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, and the over-under is 10.5. I mean, you can do that blindfolded in Cincinnati this year. I mean, if Burrow comes out healthy with Jamar Chase, the run game, the defense is getting better. The offensive line, they're plugging holes. I mean, this is I agree. This is a 13-win team easily. I think this year is where we see the Ravens take a step back. I think the NFL starts to, Lamar Jackson had a bounce back year from his MVP campaign back in 19. I think this is a Ravens team that they start to figure out now and figure out the option run. This is the NFL, this ain't the NC2A. So they're going to figure out a way to shut this down. I think they will. Derrick Henry, great running back, but at the same time, we saw, the struggles in Tennessee last year. I think it was more touches were taken from him, but the Ravens still are not doing what they need to do on offense, receiver wise. Also, if Mark Andrews goes down, this team is fucked again.
Well, Isaiah Likely's not bad tight end. I mean, I will say he's a good backup.
When it comes to Derrick Henry,
he's not a Mark Andrews.
There's a history back, going way back of Tennessee Titans players that go to Baltimore Ravens and they get injured. And Derrick Henry's on that older side. You can see them injuries start to creep up. So I don't think that, and we know that the Ravens have always just annually, they have problems with running backs getting injured.
I just don't understand for the life of me why, with the team that you have, you're not investing more in the wide receiver core to see what we saw in the playoffs last year, force Lamar Jackson to be a quarterback, and we saw what happened. Like, I don't understand why they're not putting more into getting – there were so many options on the table this year that they just – I mean, they lost a lot of defense, don't get me wrong, but they had the chance and they didn't.
Let's pause on the Ravens because that's the last team. Yeah, and Tijon, I agree with you, man. Isaiah Likely, I was trying to say that he's not a drop off. I mean, he's a slight drop off. He's not a slight drop off.
Not bad, but he's not Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews is WR1.
Yeah. He does not have the chemistry with Lamar Jackson, and we saw Lamar Jackson take a step back with his accuracy and his ability to extend plays with his pass. From when Mark Andrews went down. And again, it's not his deep throwing. It's I said this earlier.
No, it's just his throwing in general.
It's not his deep throwing. It's not his mid-range throwing. It's those passes that have to extend drives on short and third or third and short. And, his ability to go out and actually make a play. And Mark Andrews just always seems to be the guy that knows how to read what Lamar Jackson is doing. And you see the steep drop off when it comes to his accuracy when Mark Andrews is not on the field.
I'm going to tell you right now, if Zay Flowers is not a 1,300, no, I'll say 1,200 yard receiver. You're right. We're on the Bengals.
I know. Well, we're on the Steelers now. We're on the Pittsburgh
I love shit talking the Ravens.
I know, and we're gonna have Ravens talk. I said the last team we're gonna talk about because they won the division. But let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They went 10-7 last year, and somehow they made the fucking playoffs. I don't know how they made it with Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, and I don't know if they had any other quarterbacks throwing the ball, but those are the two main ones. And now this year, there is no Kenny Pickett. There is no Mason Rudolph. It's Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. Is it Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? That's the situation. Mike Tomlin's got himself a new quarterback. Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, I think a pretty solid wide receiver duo. You bring in Roman Wilson in the third round, Michigan rookie wide receiver. Pittsburgh hits on those rookie receivers. And you have George Pickens, who was a solid receiver last year, over 1,000 yards. for his standards. Year 2 that was pretty good. The defense is filthy. They added Patrick Queen. Like, this defense is legit. So the question is, boys, can Mike Tomlin make it work once again? Can they find the playoffs with this team?
Yeah, I do think that a lot of people hate on Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a lot of down years recently, but last year was not one of those down years. And we look at his statistics last year. He was actually efficient and got the ball downfield. He was able to extend drives. And I think we saw a little bit of control when it came to Russell Wilson. And I think there's going to be more control. This team, more so than any team since Marshawn Lynch with Russell Wilson, is built to be a run-first team. I don't love Najee Harris as a runner, but I do know that he's a bruiser.
Nobody does these days.
Jalen Warren,
4 yards a carry last year. I mean, that's better than what he was doing. And Jalen Warren, like you said, he stepped up. Yeah,
Jalen Warren is a baller, and he's a perfect compliment. So,
and honestly, Russell Wilson's problem last year. I mean, Sean Payton obviously was not a fan of him, so that hurt him. But Russell Wilson wasn't a bad quarterback for the first 3 quarters of a game. Now the Broncos, honestly, they're not the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I think if he can set aside those fourth quarter issues he had last year, where he kind of stumbled in the fourth, that was a slight drop-off every single game, it seemed like. This is a solid team. The defense is filthy. They added Dante Jackson out of the Carolina Panthers at corner. They have Deshaun Elliott out of the Miami Dolphins. TJ Watt, one of the best defensive players in the NFL.
If not the best.
Queen, Patrick Queen, you added him. We'll see what he's going to do. Joey Porter Jr. going his second year. He's already claiming to be the best corner. I love the confidence. I love Joey Porter Jr. And he make Fitzpatrick, that safety as well. This defense is going to eat. I think this offense is going to be sneaky good. I'm not saying they're going to go 11, 12 wins, but I'm not questioning Mike Tomlin. They're going to get 9 wins. They're getting their fucking quota, 9 wins. Mike Tomlin's going to keep his job because they're faithful. Now, he should maybe be on the hot seat. I know Luke's called him out because of the lack of playoff success in very, very long time. But I like this. I like this offense. It's sneaky.
Well, what we do know is that last year and the year before that, Russell Wilson does not thrive in an offense that is complicated. And we know that Sean Payton's offense is complicated. We know that the Steelers, in most situations, year in and year out, their offense is usually rudimentary. They're pretty chill.
They got rudimentary players.
They're pretty simple, right? And I think that's a recipe for success with this team. I can definitely see this team coming out and winning another 10 games and being a competitive team.
So what makes a complicated offense for you?
Well, I think going to the line.
The Falcons. The Falcons last year was complicated.
Last year, no, but Sean Payton, a lot of his stuff is the vocabulary for the offense is just so intense, and you have to go out and you have to call so many different things with his offense. Where the Steelers are going to simplify it, and we know that that's how Russell Wilson has thrived in the past when he was on the Seahawks.
But Russell Wilson has been in the league long enough and has proven himself as a quarterback enough to be able to play in a complicated offense. I don't think that that's the difference.
Well, I mean, I think Denver had its issues though last year. Denver had its issues all around.
They did, but we saw Russell slipping in Seattle, and I don't think this guy is even a glimmer of what he was in the past. I think he is. I think Justin Fields is going to fight him for that job this year. I'm not saying in training camp, but I think at some point the time is going to come where Justin Fields is going to get that start because Russell's just not getting it done. There is very, very little that I like about this offense. I think it's going to be the same Pittsburgh team we saw last year. The defense is going to keep the game close, and the offense is going to put up just enough and be like you said, Mark, be sneaky just enough to get 10 points to win a game.
The thing with Pittsburgh this year, and unlike the Seahawks and the Broncos the last couple of years with Russell Wilson, is this offensive line has been invested. They invested big on the offensive line this offseason. They drafted 2 studs. They drafted 2 studs. One at center was Zach Frazier out of West Virginia, and I believe they got Fontenot out of Washington. He was arguably one of the best linemen. Line was a heavy draft class this year, and I'm pretty sure that they added a guy in the offseason as well. And Pat Freiermuth, he's going to be involved once again in this team, and we forgot about him last year because they weed him out. I'm not an Arthur Smith fan as a head coach, but as a play caller, as an offensive coordinator in Tennessee, he was solid. He was a solid play caller, and I think he can help Russell Wilson and simplify the things. Get your running backs like Jalen Warren involved and Najee Harris. Play action the hell out of the teams. That's what they're going to do.
And one of the things that we always, talk about, big football heads talk about, is turnover differential. And I brought it up earlier when we were talking about the Bengals and the Chiefs. One thing that I'll say is that the Steelers are right up there. I mean, they're at 16 plus 16 over the last 2 years in turnover differential, and they're going to put Russell Wilson in that offense in positive yardage situations where they're going to be able to turn those plays where we know last year that the Steelers had the worst, and that's saying a lot. But the Steelers had the worst quarterback play in the entire league, and Russell Wilson may not be what he was. Russell Wilson may not be what he was, but he's better than what they had on that team. And
way better.
I'll give you that.
I do love
he's way better.
I do love what I'm hearing. I brought it up a little bit earlier. You weren't on yet, Doc, but I love what I'm hearing out of the Steelers camp, where they're going to try to use Justin Fields in Cordell Stewart type packages and try to get him on the field. They understand that he is a game changer. I mean, this is a guy who's rushed over 100 yards 5 times in his career. He's a guy you've got to get out on the field.
Just launch snap put him in Devin Hester in a running back situation.
Well, Russie even joked around. I mean, he might have been kind of serious too. Because Cordell Patterson doesn't have the speed he used to. He looks decent in the kickoff. I think they've even tempted that, put him in the kickoff returns, because with this new kickoff rule, a guy like Justin Fields who can fly can give them good field position
and avoid tackles. That's a big thing. Create space.
And this new kickoff, that's what it does. I just think the downfall of the offense, Doc, and I see what you're saying though, is the inexperience. Well, not inexperience, because Pickens is in his 3rd year, and I get it. I think Allen or who are the other receivers they brought in.
Nobody worth talking about.
Van Jefferson, who had a good solid year or two in the Los Angeles Rams.
I'll give you him.
But I mean, I think Roman Wilson, if they can hit on him like they did with Juju back in the day, and all these guys they find in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, I don't know.
Talking about a big difference in quarterback though between Ben Roethlisberger and Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but they always hit on these guys. I mean, they always hit on these wide receivers. They've done it throughout their entire, Mike Tomlin's entire career, regardless of who the quarterback was, because Ben Roethlisberger had injury history too. And no matter what, they still had guys that they picked up late in drafts or in the middle of the draft, and they still came out and became star wide receivers. I'm not saying this guy's going to be a star wide receiver, but if they can get good production out of him, you're looking at a solid team. And again, they're going to be a run-first offense. They're going to ground and pound you, and then they're going to throw you off of your rhythm by throwing in Jalen Warren. And I just think that their defense is going to put them in positive yardage situations. I think that they can be a really good team this year.
And let's be honest, Russell Wilson at this stage of his career is the best quarterback that Arthur Smith has ever had as a play caller. Better than Ryan Tannehill, better than Marcus. Oh, I mean, he did have Matt Ryan. He had Matt Ryan 1 year at the end of his career. Matt Ryan has had a solid year the one season with Arthur Smith, but I guess I'll take that back. He's like the second best quarterback he's ever had. I'll take Matt Ryan still at that.
And I want to say that this Pittsburgh team is going to go sub 500 for the first time in Mike Tomlin's career, but if history has taught me anything, that's just not going to happen. I may still play devil's advocate and do it. All 4 of these teams finished above 500 last year. Very rare feat. I don't know if I see that happening again. The Browns, solid defensively, better than the Steelers, so they can stay in that game a lot longer in both of those. The Ravens lost a lot of pieces, so it's going to be interesting to see how they come together. But I think that they can still win some games. And then the Bengals obviously playing in Pittsburgh is a completely different atmosphere, but I don't
know, Doc. I think Pittsburgh might have the best defense in this division. If you actually go look at what the Steelers have, if healthy, because the Browns' problem last year, the second half of the season, the defense was horrible on the road. The Steelers were a bend but don't break. Yeah, they gave up yards, but they didn't give up many points. Now the Browns had a better scoring defense. I'll give you that. But I don't know. I think this Steelers team, if healthy on defense, is the best. And the over-under, Doc, is 8.5. It was 7.5 on Vegas, but I moved it up.
God damn it.
No, it's 7.5, but I moved it up because I want it to be the truthful game, because it's not can they get 8 wins. It's always can they get 9. Can they get above 500? So
yeah, they got to get above 500
again. Yeah, that's always it.
I'm going over. I think this is a 9-win team. I think that Pittsburgh is going to surprise people. They're going to They're going to put teams out there on notice. They're going to challenge teams. I think that they're even going to beat. I think they could even beat Dallas. I know. I'm a Dallas hater this year, but I could see them beating the Cowboys in Pittsburgh on Sunday Night Football in October. I don't call me crazy, but I can see that. I can see them upsetting these teams. I can see them going 3-3 in the division as well, getting 3 of their 9 wins right there. But I have over. I trust Mike Tomlin.
I do think that, again, with this division, because it's so tough, I do think that there's going to be some vulturing of wins here. However, I still think that this team can make 10 wins. I think this team is better than it was last year. And I think that they're going to get 10 wins, which is the same as they did last year, but I think they're going to be more competitive in the playoffs.
Doc, what are you doing, man? You playing that devil's advocate? You gonna go against?
I'm going under. I'm going under. If I look at the schedule, I'm taking the under. I see a good start. I see a loss to the Falcons early because I see Kirk Cousins coming out and slinging in that first game. I see wins against the Broncos, Chargers, and Colts early on. Cowboys is kind of a throw-up game, especially playing in Pittsburgh, which is where I have them kind of on that fringe for that 500. But I see a very, very, maybe not a full mid to late season losing streak, but a very poor run coming. I mean, you talk about that early part of the season, you pick up a win against the Commanders, and then you got the Ravens at home. You go to Cleveland, you go to Cincinnati, taking the Browns at home, going to Philadelphia, which Philly's up in the air right now, in my opinion. And then you got in Baltimore, you got the Chiefs at home, but it's the Chiefs. And then you got Cincinnati at home that I think can pull that out. I think like that stretch of 1, 2, 3, that last 8 games, I mean, that could easily be a 1-7 stretch.
That's a easily really
stretch. That is a very, I mean, that is all of your division in that 8-game stretch. God, that's rough. That's brutal. And then you throw the Chiefs and the Eagles in there. Eagles' problem is they die late. You know, the bird goes down late. That's the problem with the Eagles. So at least they got them late in the season. But I mean, that's like my one in that stretch, maybe picking up a home win against one of these divisional games. But Eagles is really like my only true. I think the Steelers can go into Philly and win that game. But all these other division games can be toss-ups, more in favor of the other team. Even the Chiefs coming in to Pittsburgh, I think, is a loss for them. I see a rough second half of the season for them. It's going to keep them below 5. I think they're going to come out real strong, that everybody's going to jump on the bandwagon and go, take the Cowboys route. This is our year. And then that second half is just going to hit them hard.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting team. I think there's not much more to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think, honestly, I'm as a football fan, if you just take away the bias of like the team I root for, like Pittsburgh is one of the teams I'm actually interested to watch this year. I'm just, for some reason, I'm intrigued by what they got going on. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I'm just very intrigued by this team.
I would be more intrigued with a quarterback, though, and a running back.
And maybe that's the reason why. It's because maybe I'm intrigued to see
Eddie Lacy, as Chris put it so well last year.
But Najee Harris stepped up in the second half of the season. And after we started calling him Fat Eddie Lacy, he stepped up. Maybe he's cool. They didn't renew his 5th-year option, so he's probably gone for this year, unless the Josh Jacobs route he gets tagged. But,
well, unless he balls out this year, but I don't know. There's so many question marks. TJ Watt's injuries last year. If he goes down, that's going to cripple the defense, in my opinion, because the energy he is, but the energy he brings off the line changes the game plan.
Oh yeah,
it's the same thing that Khalil Mack did in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? It forces quarterbacks into tough situations, make bad decisions. But if TJ Watt is out, it changes the landscape for the defense. Najee Harris came through in the second half last year, but you know who didn't? The rest of the offense.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and so, everything's got to gel together. And if you start having a problem mid-season and you start talking about Justin Fields getting a chance because Russell ain't getting it done and he's on the tail end of his career, you're completely throwing everything through a loop.
If I'm not mistaken, Pickens started playing good as well. I mean, Mason Rudolph hit a little slight stride, which is very odd to see, but he was hitting pick. Like I said, as much as we were dogging Pickens last year, because I know Chris and myself, we like to joke about because it's like, oh, my goal is make a Pro Bowl instead of, saying all the right things about winning a Super Bowl. But Pickens with 1,000 yards with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, like, dude, hats off to you. Like, dude, that's fantastic.
I was happy with Pickens. I was more Deontay Johnson's crybaby ass and his bullshit. Yeah. That's where I was more disappointed. But, Van Jefferson's got to step up. Rome's got to step up. We got to see.
Rome's a rookie, though. He's a rookie. So, I mean, I'm not going to say the pressure's on him yet because he's option.
It's not, but he's still. Yeah. I mean, you don't have the receiving core to where you can take like a Rome Odunze and go, hey, you've got 2 1,300-yard receivers in the last 2 years on your team. You don't have to be the stud.
Yeah.
The pressure's not on him, but he's still got to contribute. He's still got Van Jefferson had good years in the in Los Angeles, but I'm not convinced the wide receiver one. George Pickens, he's got to come up firing a lot quicker. Najee Harris does. This offense absolutely has the potential to come together and be something strong up front. They got to carry that momentum. But even if they do, I'm telling you, that second half of the season can take the wind out of anybody.
Yeah. And boys and Doc, I mentioned a team I'm very interested for. And the next team we're going to talk about is a team that I'm always interested in because of the quarterback. I've always been a Deshaun Watson fan. You've known it since I've met you. It was right as Deshaun Watson was coming to the NFL. I'm a huge Deshaun Watson fan. I get it. He's got his issues. I'm not talking about his.
Oh, I remember when all that shit went down. You started getting massages.
Hey man, support my guy. No, but I mean, I'm a Deshaun Watson football fan. Always have been. I know Dabo Swinney called him the Michael Jordan of football, and at one point he looked like he was on that pace to be a hell of a fucking player. Now he's taken a step back since the scandals. Obviously, the first year was a rough season with only a few games. Last year's his first year, got hurt, and boys, Nick Chubb's coming back. He got hurt week 2 last year. Nick Chubb was thrown forward.
I want to say last year with Deshaun Watson on the field, they were 5-1, regardless of how he played. They were very good with him on the field. So I like Deshaun Watson. I'm just like you. I've always been a Deshaun Watson fan. And I think that this is the year. I mean, this team really is set up to be a very good team.
Weapons.
I want to say something real quick.
Wide receiver room, though, is not the best.
I want to say something real quick. Nick Chubb ain't facing Mink until week 11. So Chubb's primed for a good year.
Well, if Nick Chubb is healthy, and Jerome Ford, maybe with his little emergence last year, they kind of take a small load off Nick Chubb immediately, like kind of the first, maybe half of the season, let Nick Chubb kind of get his feet underneath him again. But David Njoku balled out last year with Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper's Amari Cooper. He's been a pretty solid receiver out of the Cleveland Browns. Now, the question is outside Amari Cooper and David Njoku in the running game, what do they have to throw to? Can Deshaun Watson use Cedric Tillman, I think, is a receiver there. I'm not sure else they have at receiver, but like Doc mentioned, solid defense. Myles Garrett, arguably another best defensive player in the league. Off the line, you have Denzel Ward out there. Solid linebacker core. I think Cleveland is a team that can challenge the Bengals, challenge the Ravens for this division. I really do.
I think on paper that the Browns are the best team in the division on paper. And I think they're primed to be able to take this division. I said it earlier. I think that the Bengals and the Browns are really going to be fighting for that. But I do think that the Browns are the ones that end up taking that first in the division. They do have a tough schedule. I mean, as you look at the rest of these teams, the Bengals have the easiest schedule coming in. They're playing up against the worst teams because they finished last year. However, I still look at the Browns and I'm just like, they've got the pieces, they've got the defense, and they've got if everything works out the way it's supposed to, and Deshaun Watson is all the way back, then that's going to be a scary team, especially into the playoffs. Nick Chubb, that injury was really devastating last year. That was a very tough injury.
How he comes back from that too.
That's what I'm interested in. And I do think that they're going to mix it up. I think it's going to be a split backfield, at least for the first 8 games of the season before they, just full on just unload Nick Chubb. They want to make sure that he's completely healthy. But it's definitely tough. But they've got the talent in the best division in football. I mean, I think we're all sitting here saying that, most of these teams are going to be over 500, and this may be a repeat of last year where all teams are over 500. It's going to be tough, but I think that the Browns are the best team in the division.
And the other receivers, I looked at just Elijah Moore. We forgot they traded for him last year with the Jets, and they brought in Jerry Jeudy.
Dude, I was just about to say it. Between Cooper, Jeudy, and Moore, I'm not saying, it's necessarily like a cast full of superstars, but I'm not worried about this wide receiver core. Now we just need Deshaun Watson to come out and do what Deshaun Watson did.
We still need Jerry Jeudy to show, because Jerry Jeudy hasn't really shown anything since he's been in the league. The talent he's had, I mean, he's talented as can be, and he's not shown it. He's been injury. He's got injury histories. He's weird. He's a weird receiver.
He's been a flop. He's been a flop. Call it what it is. He's been a flop. But they went out and they gave him $50 million to be the number 2. They went out and gave him $50 million to be the number 2 on this team. They said, we've got Amari Cooper, who is a stud. Every single year, Amari Cooper shows up. And just now you've got the other guys on the other side of the field. Elijah Moore's your gadget guy. You're going to put him in reverses. You're going to put him in sweeps. You're going to do all different types of things with him. And then you're also going to have Jerry Jeudy to take the top off of defenses if he can actually do that. And then we know what Amari Cooper is. Like you said, Chris route runner, but he still gets guys. And he's got Njoku all over the field.
Dude, the man had a burnt face last year, and he fucking came out and balled.
That's what I'm saying. Like, on paper, this is the best team in the division.
That's what I'm saying between this team and Pittsburgh. You can argue who's the better defense, but they're both side by side. Solid defensively. The big difference in the offense, okay? I'll take Deshaun Watson over Russell Wilson. I'm not saying Deshaun is incredible. He's got a lot of proving to do since his, glory years in Houston. But Nick Chubb is a running back over Najee Harris all day long. The wide receiver core of Jeudy, Cooper, and Moore, I'll take that all day long. David Njoku over Freiermuth. I like Freiermuth. I really like Freiermuth.
I love Freiermuth, man.
But I'm telling you,
fantasy reasons he's helped me out.
Yeah, this is primed to be. And I've liked Njoku for a long time and I just thought he didn't get the opportunity. And honestly, Jeudy, I don't think Jeudy had the star-studded quarterback talent that everybody's saying in Denver to really ball out. He had one injury year, played 10 games. Other than that, I mean, for what you're looking for in a Jerry Jeudy in Denver, I think he did just fine. I think he's going to come out. He's going to be a great opposite of Amari Cooper, a great supplement to him. And then you throw Njoku in there with it. I'm telling you, he's primed for a breakout year. This man's going to go off. This offense is exciting. I am pumped for Cleveland this year. Shout out to you, Gary. I'm pumped for Cleveland this year.
And shout out to Daddy Aaron too. Chris's father, he's a big Browns fan. But no, Doc, like you said, I'm glad the Browns didn't give up on David Njoku because he was kind of quiet to start the season. The opportunities, I don't think, were there. But Kevin Stefanski, I think, solid coach in the league. I know we talk about all these good coaches.
He started using them.
Yeah, and you know what? And I was going to mention the coaches real quick. I didn't realize it, but they brought Ken Dorsey in as offense coordinator. Obviously, it's Stefanski's offense, but you have Ken Dorsey there. It's kind of like how Brian Daboll was with Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey kind of was like his ear, like, kind of helping him out. And then you also have Mike Vrabel as a consultant on the defensive side. That's filthy with God damn, the defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz and Mike Vrabel is calling the defense. That's scary too, man. Like, this Browns coaching staff is legit as well.
This whole team talked about him. I think it's legit.
I will say this though. Earlier you said that Zach Taylor maybe need to be talked about having a hot seat for the Bengals. I think that this is the year where Stefanski has to really step up because he's got all the pieces.
Yeah.
There is no arguments anymore. There is no shortcomings on this roster. He's got to put it all together, and they've got to really come out and light the league on fire with this offense and how good this defense is.
No, I agree with you. He should be on the hot. I hate to say it, but he should be just because of the.
This is a division where if Joe Burrows comes out swinging, I mean, the Bengals can absolutely take it. We've seen defensive problems from them in the past, but this is a Cleveland team that if Deshaun Watson is 3/4, almost half of what he was in Houston, the Browns can absolutely run away with this division.
If we can get Deshaun Watson from the second half of that Ravens game that he fucked his shoulder up, that is a Deshaun Watson that we were expecting him to be in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. I get it. The rust, we understand the first year where he missed almost 2 years. We get that. You have to knock that. And that's why you had that 5 or 6 game stretch. But last year he didn't show it. And he showed it in spurts. It was like weird spurts. But if he can show it.
He was afraid to really take a shot downfield or, get this offense going.
I get it. Maybe it's still a mental block. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's just the mental blockage still. I mean, obviously we've never been through that situation where he had all that shit going on, and that could have messed him up. I mean, some guys aren't the same. when things happen. Athletes go through, walls, and hopefully that wall gets torn down this year. And it's a battle because this is an interesting division with Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, and Joe Burrow. Like this is a fun division to watch. And Cleveland, like you said, Alan, it could be a battle of Ohio. This could be an Ohio division, top and bottom. Who's going to win it?
I think Lamar goes down early this year. I'm just saying.
Well, over under 9.5 for the Browns. I think I'm going over.
I'm going over. That's not
even a
win.
That's 9.5. I'm going over on that.
I got them fighting with the Bengals for the division, but I mean it's contingent on Deshaun Watson having a hell of a year.
Well, let's talk about last year's division winner, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. They were 13-4. The last game didn't matter. They sat everybody. Lamar Jackson coming off his second MVP. You bring in Derrick Henry, like Doc said, but you do lose Patrick Queen. You do lose Jadeveon Clowney. You do lose Morgan Moses. Who else? You lost your coordinator, Mac McDonald's, the coach for the Seahawks. You promote a guy, Zach Orr, as the coach now, as the coordinator. So the question is it Super Bowl or bust for this team? If they don't make the Super Bowl, is it a bust season for this team?
Well, I don't think that it's a bust, only because when you talk about Super Bowl or bust, to me, that means you've got to blow the team up. You've got to change things fundamentally. And maybe you retooled around Lamar Jackson and you really retooled the defense, all those things. You got to blow it up. I don't think that is that. What I think is this team is still in the stages of trying to put together the right pieces around Lamar Jackson. Yes, they were really good last year. Yes, they turned corners and made strides. However, I don't think that this is Super Bowl or bust, only because they are in the toughest division in football, and we know that there is regression that has to happen. It's just natural in this era of parity. They're not going to win this division again. They have to be comfortable with not winning this division, and they've just got to come out and they've got to see. For them, it's kind of that Bills thing right now, which is, what are you going to do in the playoffs? I don't care if you win 14 games and win the division. I don't care. I care about what you do in the playoffs. Are you making that deep run, and can you get over that hump? Can you get off of the boogeyman, the Chiefs, and make that run to that Super Bowl? And so, no, go ahead.
I was going to say, shout out to Moosey the Staggy, huge Lions guy. Hey, Moosey, I have become a low-key Lions fan because I want to see them win. If my Falcons don't win. Last year they went from Josh Allen to Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta's been my guy, but no. Shout out to you, Moosey Staggy. Next Monday night, we are talking the Detroit Lions in the AFC North. That's your plug. Join us next week for that too. But no, Alan, sorry about to cut you off, man. I just want to say shout out to Moosey the Staggy.
Bears.
While we're doing shout outs, I want to shout out my boy Tony, who shouted you guys out in the dickhead. I'm here, boy.
Yo, props to Tony on that comment.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Tijon, the thing with the division is, I get it. You think the Ravens going to win the division. The problem is, I get it. They had Derrick Henry. And if you say Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and if they're healthy, hey, you don't know who's going to get the ball. That's a solid fucking thing. But I don't trust the schedule they have with the team. I think they're going to be a solid 11-win team still. But I'm banking on, Tijon, that the Bengals are going to be healthy. And I think that Joe Burrow is going to run this division with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Like I said, it's an all-in year for them because I think T. Higgins is gone. But I'm not disrespecting the Ravens. I love the draft picks. I love what they did. Solid corners out there. They got TJ Tampa, and they got who else did they get in the first round? It was honestly a steal for the Ravens. God damn! Now I'm drawing a blank, but I like what they did in the draft class. But that's all youth. Marlon Humphrey's getting older. He's still solid, but he's getting older. And losing Patrick Queen, what's that going to do with Roquan Smith? And Nate Wiggins from Clemson. I just think that
you get Nate Wiggins. I really wanted him on the Patriots.
Solid pick. Like I said, I like the Ravens draft class. I just don't know what to think. Walker out of North Carolina, it's cool, but what's Mark Andrews going to be? He got hurt late in the season. I know Isaiah Likely's still a solid tight end, but Zay Flowers is your wide receiver one. He's a solid receiver, but is he truly a true wide receiver one? That's yet to be seen. Now, Todd Monken, you saw the problem in the playoffs. Todd Monken avoided the run game and tried out-dueling Patrick Mahomes. Very stupid of a play caller to do.
Tried to make Lamar Jackson a pocket passer. And I'm gonna go to the schedule because to me the schedule is the reason why they do not repeat and they have a drop off. And it's look at the division winners from last year that they have to play: Chiefs, Cowboys.
They're gonna win that game. The Chiefs always stuck week 1.
No. Chiefs are gonna win week 1, but lose week 2, Doc. That's what I was trying to say.
That's how it works. Yeah, no, but
this year
I'll take that because week 1 is against the Ravens. I'll take that all day long.
Yeah,
they got the Bucks. They also later in they have the Texans at the end of the year in Houston.
That's not an easy game.
A better Houston team that they faced both times last year.
Exactly. I mean, it's really going to be a tough schedule. On top of the division winners that they have to play within the toughest division in the league. Like they still have to play Browns, Bengals, Steelers, and those are never easy games. No matter what you say, no matter what anybody does, those are never going to be easy games, no matter for either one of these teams.
And the offensive line's a question mark. I love Ronnie Stanley, but he's been hurt so much in his career. Now you have, solid with Tyler Linbaum and Ben Cleveland, but you have a right tackle. You don't know who's going to be the starter there yet. Your left guard, that's a question mark. You have a new guy you're plugging in there. So, yeah, it's cool that you have Derrick Henry and Lamar and Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers, but are these guys going to have good protection? What's the defense going to become? I get it. They're usually good, but it's a new coordinator. It's new weapons out there, new players out there, or not new. It's guys that are coming in that were backups. A lot of spots there. So,
I'm looking at this and I'm thinking the Ravens could start the season 1-4. Like legitimately could start the season 1-4. And that is a tough hole to climb out of. Not saying that they can't.
I am losing early and maybe winning late.
Yeah,
I don't know about 1-4. You said 1-4. All right,
Chiefs at the Chiefs.
Yeah, loss. I'll give you that one.
Raiders, they win. At the Cowboys. Cowboys play well at home. At home, the Cowboys are a tough team.
I don't trust the Cowboys.
I got the Cowboys winning that one because the Cowboys are going to start out hot and it's going to be their year and all them boys are going to come out.
But you know how I feel about them. I don't trust the defense that game. That's the only thing. I don't trust the defense.
But after that, they've got the Bills on Sunday Night Football.
It's at home though. At home.
It's still a tough game. And we talked about what the Bills might be able to do this year.
And then Cincinnati way too late for that first game in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's warmed up by then.
He's already he's
for the first 3-4 games.
They're going to split them. I think they split. I think they go 3-3 in the division. I'd say lock it up 3-3 in the division.
Joe Burrow's out of preseason at the beginning of the year. Joe Burrow at that point, like that's the game he comes out and balls out. So that's what I'm saying. They could go 1-4, and that's a tough hole to climb out of. Now after that, they've got the Commanders, but then they at the Bucks on Monday Night Football.
God, this is brutal.
I think that's a tough game. Then you got at Browns, Broncos. Okay, watch that.
Bengals
on a short week. Bengals on a short week is still a tough game. Then you've got at Steelers.
But Bengals are on a short week as well. That goes both ways. Unless they're coming off a bye week, that's a short week for them too. And they're at home. So that's what I'm saying. I have them splitting that home. I have them going 3-3 division. So, but I get it. Tough schedule, late bye week, week 14. So if injuries is
I might have them dropping both to the Browns, honestly.
No, because I just feel like this division normally
is even split, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part. Now there might be a team that might go 2-4, 4-2, whatever. But like, I don't know. I get it. Like, there's concerns. I have the concerns there. I just feel like this team is well coached, and God, I know me and Chris a few weeks ago before the division breakdown. And I get it. Luke is not going to say it because they finally made this championship game. But I'm telling you right now, one coach in the NFL that should be on the hot seat is John Harbaugh. I love him as a coach. But Alan, I went back to the episode where we were talking about the status quo. These guys just have a quote to meet, and that is the Ravens is just getting the playoffs, maybe win a game. That was the first time they've been in a championship game in a long time, so it kind of cools off that seat. But you have a 2-time MVP, and you haven't made the Super Bowl. He has as many MVPs as he's got playoff wins, and that is also due to your coaching as well. It's not just Lamar. I'm not going to blame all Lamar. Your coaching, you let Todd Monken act like an idiot. I mean, you have to take some. No, go ahead, Doc.
Going back to your question, I think that this is absolutely a Super Bowl or bust. Not win a Super Bowl, but make it to a Super Bowl. And the reason for that is because, like you say, you got a 2-time MVP who finally got his first playoff win. You know what I mean? Or finally got past the division round for the first time.
Yeah. Well, the other time was the fucking MVP. You already started the division round, so all you had to do is just win one game.
Right. So you've had this consistency of, look, the money's going to go into the defense. Derrick Henry was a big signing, but the money's going to go into the defense. That's where our focus is at. You've shown what you can do with that. It is time to progress from that, or it's time to move on. And that's what I think the problem. For the fan base, it's going to be win a Super Bowl or bust, because you're coming off an MVP season, which, again, I'll say it like I've said it a million times. He did not deserve it. I don't think he was the MVP last year, but you've shown what you can do. You got past. You take a step back this year, because realistically, what is the offense missing this year compared to last year? If you've got a healthy Andrews, you're already a step up. You're missing OBJ, and that's it. You've got an improvement in the running game. Lamar Jackson is back, and Mark Andrews stays healthy. You've got Zay Flowers, who I think is going to play a much bigger role. And like I said earlier, if he's not a 1,300-yard receiver, or at least 1,200-yard receiver, you're not utilizing this offense right. So this is absolutely a do-or-die season for the Ravens. We've seen Harbaugh be good, but also mediocre at the same time, because he can't find that playoff success as he once did. So, win or move on. Win or find the coach. Because the front office is at the point where they're like, find a way to win with what we've got, or you're done.
I don't think so. This year is going to be, if he's kind of quick out of the playoffs or doesn't make the playoffs, then that 2025 season is going to truthfully be that hot seat season. Because he made the championship this year, it kind of cooled it off, kind of like how Zach Taylor made the Super Bowl, and they paid him literally right after it happened. I just think that this team, like you said, Doc, they didn't add a lot based on the guys they lost. Now Mitchell's coming back. He's going to be the lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. It's just I don't know. I don't know what to think of this team, man. I
feel like they lost more than they gained this offseason. And if I had to peg a team that from all of the teams in the entire league that was going to take a drop down, I think that it has to be the Ravens, because of the strength of schedule and the division that they're in. I just see this team.
And the fact they focused in the wrong area of this team.
Yeah.
Why in the hell did you go out after Derrick Henry and not a receiver? Why did you not go out after somebody that could keep Lamar Jackson from having to scramble all the time? Why did you not go out after and fill holes on the defense?
You could have re-signed Gus Edwards, and that would have been enough for this.
The run game was great last year. The run game was great. They didn't need to upgrade to Derrick Henry. They misplaced what they needed to improve on. They went out and got Derrick Henry. They filled a hole that wasn't a hole, because Keaton Mitchell could absolutely beat the RB1 on this team. Well, RB2 behind Lamar, of course, because Lamar is a passing running back.
Well, the thing was, so like, as deep as this wide receiver class was, and hey, I love the Nate Wiggins pick, but you didn't go get a receiver until round 3 or 4 with Walker from North Carolina, who is a question. I mean, he's got the potential, he's got the ceiling, but you had Donnie Mitchell there at pick 30. I think it was pick 30.
You had Keon Coleman.
Yeah, Keon Coleman. And I'm telling you,
I'm not gonna lie, I absolutely hate the Ravens. I don't hate the Ravens. I hate Lamar Jackson. But a part of me was like, yo, if Keon Coleman goes to Baltimore, like, this offense could explode.
And a lot of mocks had that too. A lot of guys had that.
I think I had him taken.
Just singularly based off of his interview process. I've said this multiple times. Every single team that passed on Keon Coleman is going to look stupid as hell. And now the Bills, who were on a turnover and we didn't know what they were going to have, and now the Bills are going to look. I think the Bills actually are on an upside now because they got Keon Coleman.
Well, and that's what I'm saying.
Looking amazing.
The Bills, we talked about them, but if they hit on that 2 tight end system with Keon Coleman and the run game is good, that's why I think Buffalo can be good, but that's not the team we're talking about. But yeah, the Ravens solid picks. You got TJ Tampa and you got fucking Nate Wiggins. Those are 2 solid corners. TJ Tampa was a second round grade on most people's board. Some of them have him first, but they went Walker, and I just don't know why. I don't know, man. I just don't know what to think. I truthfully, I don't know if they're going to go first to last. I still think that Pittsburgh's going to secure that.
Last. Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Well, Allen's board says Ravens first to last. What does it say?
So it says Ravens first to last. Don't blame Lamar or you don't know football. That's a shout out to all the people that hated on me.
Oh yeah. We don't know football. Yeah, because we. Hey, I said all year. I'm not going to give Lamar Jackson shit in the regular season because he was doing the right things. I said I will talk about Lamar's playoff game performances. In the first game against the Texans, he looked solid. The game against the Chiefs, I get it, horrible. And I talked about it win
for a minute.
A bad play calling from Todd Monken, but that just showed Lamar Jackson did not have what it took throwing the ball if they asked him to.
That was the craziest thing.
I love, Doc, that you take away your fucking camera.
Yeah, don't mute it. I forgot the mic. Hey man, what did I say? What did I say? Force Lamar to be a quarterback.
But that's the thing. That was the craziest part about it is the Chiefs weren't especially great at, stopping the run, and they were amazing at stopping the pass. And the Todd Monken's game plan was turn Lamar into a pocket passer and try to go out and throw on the best pass defense in the entire league. I don't
even think it needs to be the best pass defense. I think just any pass defense.
And try and outgun.
I agree with you.
And try and outgun the best quarterback in this generation that we're going to watch, and arguably might be the best of all time down the road. That's another conversation later on. But at least the best quarterback in today's game. Like, there's just guys like you don't want to do that. Like, if you're not a true passer. Like, I get it. If you're asking Mahomes and Brady to outduel each other, that's one thing because they're two legendary quarterbacks. Peyton
Manning,
also
played two completely different games.
Yeah, but like those guys, yeah, you want them to see duel. But I get it. I want Lamar to throw it, but there's a time to do it. Not it's strategic.
That's why Lamar is successful in Baltimore because he does not have the weapons to be a quarterback. He doesn't have the talent to be a quarterback. Let's start with that first and foremost. He doesn't have the weapons to be a quarterback. He is in a run-first option scheme. Like, that's why he's successful where he is. He fits the scheme. It's the same way Patrick Mahomes does in Kansas City. It's the same way Tom Brady did in New England.
Well, over-under is what Vegas says 11.5. Oh, I'm going to go on slight. I'm going slight. I'm just slight under, though.
I'm torn between 10 and 11, but I'm under.
To be honest, I told Alan I don't know why I saw 12, but I'm gonna go under. I think I'm gonna go 11. I think that
I've got them under. I've got them at 8 games.
Yeah, wait. So I get it. I get it. I was a Cowboys hater and whatnot, but you don't. Wait.
They have the toughest schedule in almost the entire league, bro.
This might be a little far.
No, I've got him. I think
I'm signing off.
8 games. I got him 8 games.
You dogged
maybe 9.
Maybe 9. You dogged me at Cowboys 8, and then you kind of gave Jake some shit for the Dolphins going back to 8 or 9 wins too.
But listen, no, this Ravens team did not do enough. Everybody else in this division got better, either by health or by going out and getting players. And I don't know. Based off of this schedule, I just can't see them coming out with 10 wins in this schedule. It's so freaking tough, man.
Yeah, I love it, Luke. I love it, Luke. No, I give it, Luke. Because listen,
hey, Luke, I'm glad you showed up. At least get on the pod, though.
He said the Cowboys didn't do anything besides add Mike Zimmer, and that was enough. And they lost pieces.
You can't say.
You can't say. They're not in the toughest division in the entire league.
Listen to me.
We know that the Eagles.
No, bullshit. That division got Jaden Daniels now. Relax.
But and the Eagles got better too, and the Eagles fucking loaded up. Like, let's not sit here and say the Eagles didn't do enough. The Eagles loaded up. I'm not saying that the Ravens have to go 8 wins.
Doc said it earlier. What do the Eagles do? What do the Eagles do, Doc?
They drafted. That was it. Yeah,
but
Saquon Barkley, they got on move.
What do they do?
Yeah, I'll give. Yeah. Well, they shit the bed every year. Listen. I want to know how though you are putting the Ravens at 8, talking about everybody got healthier. Like, that's what happens in an offseason. You know what I mean? You get healthier. I need to see, first of all, Mark Andrews come back and bounce off that knee injury. I need to see Joe Burrow come back and bounce, what was it, a thumb or a wrist for him? I don't remember. Wrist. I need to see these guys come back and bounce. I need to see Nick Chubb come back and bounce off that knee injury. That is going to be a huge part. That is what is going to make that passing game so successful for Deshaun Watson is Nick Chubb in the run game.
I didn't even say everybody got healthy. I just said that all of
No, you just said teams got healthier.
I said teams got better either by health or by adding players.
I'm not arguing that, but I'm saying though.
But the Browns did both of that. Because they went out and they got Jerry Jeudy. They went out and added pieces on defense. And they went out and now Nick Chubb is coming back healthy.
And they let Nick Chubb recover. I get it.
Yeah.
They let Mark Andrews do the same thing in the offseason. I'm just saying the health part, leave the health part out of it because everybody gets healthy in the offseason. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing, but everybody, my thing is not, you can get healthy. It's like coming back from a Tommy John surgery in baseball. You can get healthy. I got to see how that elbow holds up with a curveball in that.
Well, that wrist and that wrist injury, a lot of people are saying that wrist injury is also a very hard one to come back. I mean, he's probably the best doctors in the world too performing that wrist surgery and helping with his recovery with Joe Burrow. But
there's a lot of every team's got a couple of people that had some serious injuries that we got to see how they bounce back. That's what I want to see, and they were crucial to their position.
The only reason why I'm saying that they can drop that low is because they are in the toughest division in football. We all sit here and say that they are in the toughest division in football.
Yeah, that's why I have 11 wins.
I agree 100% they can drop low. I agree.
I'm sorry,
they can.
Go ahead.
No, I absolutely agree they can drop low. They can absolutely go down to 8 wins. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But if Lamar Jackson goes down week 1, they're going to be down below 8 games. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of that plays a part. If Mark Andrews comes back and twists that knee again in the first drive, and he's out another 12 games this year, they're going to struggle. Zay Flowers is not getting utilized the way he needs to be utilized. Listen, and I don't think he's going to have that explosive year this year.
I went over earlier the division winners that they have to play this year from last year. And it is not an easy schedule for them. Now, on top of being in the toughest division in football, they've got Chiefs, they've got Cowboys, they've got the Bills.
Yeah, but you weren't high on the Bills. But you were on the hell high on the Bills 2 weeks ago.
Hey,
honestly, I think they got the Bills. I think they got the Bills.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, you weren't high on the Bills 2 weeks ago, but now the Bills are competitive.
Bills just continue to lose players, in my opinion. Keon Coleman's a great pickup, but he's not going to be ready by week 4. You know what I'm saying?
No,
he's not going to be elite by week 4. He's
not going to be elite, but he's definitely going to be one of the key fucking receivers on
the team. He's going to have to be because he's going to come out WR1. Yeah. He's coming out wide receiver 1. He got drafted and knew like the one on his jersey was not for the first round. It was for his position on the depth chart right off the rip. You know what I'm saying?
That's true, yeah.
Listen, 8 games is still a lot of games in the NFL. I'm not, it's still very like last year we talked about the Bengals. They won 9 games last year, and Joe Burrow was hurt. And these guys that they had on their team, they were plagued with injuries all year long, and they still won 9 games. That's a lot of games.
Nuts came out slinging. I mean, he had the weapons to. That's my point, though. He had the weapons to win those games. You know what I'm saying? That man won these fantasy games.
No, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be, and I hope that you can watch while you're gone because like this is.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, weekly, especially with USO. Especially with being live, like it's gonna be fun, and this was a fun episode. I really
AFN,
wish I really wish Luke was on the like. I wish he was on there.
Luke just didn't want to face me talking about the Ravens. That's what it was.
He hit me with that text. He hit me with that text an hour before. He's like, "Hey, I know, I believe him." I was just like, "Man," I was really banking on Luke being here. Like, I want all our guys. I want everyone to be there for our division. Like, I want Jake to be for the West. Like, Doc, you next week for the North, for the NFC North, and Moosey the Staggy. Like I said, hey, shout out to you out in the UK. Watching across the pond. Get everyone out there from the UK. Get them watching the show. Hey, we're trying to make football great in the United Kingdom. We're bringing it to you guys. You might get a Super Bowl at London. So.
I agree with you though, Alan, with the schedule, and I think that the Ravens just took so many strides backwards. They can absolutely fall and just completely like implode in this division. I don't think it's going to happen. I got them. I'm torn between 10 and 11, right? And I took the Bengals at 13. I got the Browns over 11. I think the Steelers are going to have a real shit year. They're going to have to really, but all of them got tough schedules. I don't think the Ravens.
I think the Bengals schedule is pretty.
They had last year, and honestly, I think the teams start to figure out Lamar Jackson, and they did for a couple of years since his MVP season, and I think that they kind of revamped the offense, and I think they run that contain. Everybody is looking at that playoff game as film. Everybody is using that shit, contain him, force him to be a quarterback, and either he's going to merge. He's either going to emerge and be, another Patrick Mahomes in the league where he can be versatile, move around in the pocket, and make some wild throws, and he's got receiver. Because we saw Patrick Mahomes don't have weapons. He got Travis Kelce. That's it. He ain't had a weapon.
No. He doesn't have weapons.
No, Rice last year was solid when they used
Rice was good. Rice, I wouldn't say solid. Rice was good, but we saw. I don't know. Maybe you put like a cop car on a field chasing him. And
he'll get away.
He might be a little bit faster.
He'll get away. Yeah,
he might get away, but might be a little bit better. But I think that this team took too many steps backwards. I think there's too much missing. And I think that the league is going to start running this contain. We've seen it across the league when you get a defensive stud and you start running double teams, or a receiver and you start running, cover 2 on them. You're going to see the adjustment, I think, this year, because it was so painfully obvious in that Chiefs game. I don't think you have to be an elite pass defense to shut down Lamar Jackson. I think you just got to get the right play call, keep him in the pocket, force him to be a quarterback, and you're going to see where the struggles are at.
But boys, great episode. Can't wait to be back next week. NFC North, Doc, will be on display for you with the Lions, Packers, Bears, and Vikings. So that should be a fun division. I'm also division I'm interested in as well. Alan and Doc, man, thanks for being here. Alan, I know we're going to be probably back here tomorrow night, talk a little NBA Finals preview, conference finals recap. So can't wait to get back here with you and Jake. And I can't wait for the next week too, Doc. Like I said, NFC North. But hey, shout out to you guys. Can't wait to be back here next week. That's Alan Tomasello. That's Nick Lockcircle. Of course, I'm Mark Davis. This is All About the Boss podcast, and we are out.